Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll get started in just a moment. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Maggie Vlietstra. I'm the Education Program Coordinator at Words Without Borders campus. Tonight, we're proud to present our new Caribbean unit to the public. We are joined by 9 of the unit's authors and translators: Yolanda Arroyo Pizarro, Frank Báez, Jean d'Amérique, Nathan H. Dize, Anabel Enríquez Piñeiro, and Hilary Gulley, plus Hoyt Rogers, Lawrence Schimel, and Emiliana Bernard Stevenson by pre-recorded video and audio. Thank you for being here for a celebratory evening of poetry and prose from across the Caribbean. Words Without Borders campus draws on Words Without Borders' rich archive of contemporary stories, essays, and poems in translation and connects students and educators to eye-opening contemporary literature from across the globe. Our goal is to create a virtual learning space without borders, fostering meaningful cross-cultural understandings and inspiring a lifelong interest in international literature. A little bit about our new Caribbean unit. WWB Campus's 8th full collection introduces students and educators to 21 works of literature from the vibrant literary cultures of Caribbean countries and territories, including Puerto Rico, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and more. Spanning stories, poems, essays, and comics, and featuring a critical introduction by Haitian scholar and writer Évelyne Trouillot, translated by Curtis Daw, the Caribbean unit offers an entry point into important classroom topics such as migration, natural disaster, identity, and family history. Each work of literature is paired with extensive multimedia resources to contextualize the literature and offer students paths of further exploration, as well as standards-aligned teaching ideas to help educators integrate the readings into their curricula. A few quick details before we get started. Eleanor will post these messages in the chat as I go. Please feel free to message Anna, the meeting's main host, directly if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about Zoom. We will be recording this event and publishing this conversation on our website next week, so you can revisit it there. We will be muting everyone except for our participants to ensure that we can hear them. Just because we're all on mute does not mean you can't offer your reactions to what you'll hear today. So please use the chat window at right to do so and to ask any questions you'd like to have answered during our Q&A that will follow. There's also the reactions button where you can use emoji to interact with the ceremony over the course of the evening. We will have closed captioning available during this event. To turn it on, just click the arrow next to CC on your bottom toolbar and select Show Subtitles. You'll also notice on the top right of the Zoom application window, you have the option to toggle between a gallery view and a speaker view. We suggest speaker view so that you can see the main speakers at all times. Finally, I suggest you sign up for our newsletter, which is the best way to keep up with all of the excitement going on at WWB and WWB campus. And now I'm very pleased to introduce Frank Báez and Hoyt Rogers by pre-recorded video. They are our first readers. So, born in 1978 in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, Frank Báez has published 11 books, including Last Night I Dreamt I Was a DJ and The End of the World Came to My Neighborhood. He is a founding member of El Hombrecito, the first Dominican spoken word band, and he co-directed the digital poetry magazine Ping Pong. From 2013 to 2020, he was chief editor of Revista Global. In 2022, he edited the trilingual poetry anthology On/Offshore, Poets of the Caribbean and Caribbean Diaspora. In 2017, he was selected by the Hay Festival as a member of Bogota 39. And in 2023, he was a recipient of the University of Texas Mellon Fellowship for High Impact Scholars. Hoyt Rogers is an award-winning translator, essayist, poet, and novelist. He has published many books. He has contributed poetry, fiction, essays, and translations to a wide variety of periodicals and anthologies. His latest works are a poetry collection, Thresholds, the novel Sailing to Noon, Book 1 of the Caribbean trilogy, a chapbook of prose poems, Canvases, a translation of Yves Bonnefoy's The Wandering Life, and a translation of Marco Simonelli's Will, Shakespearean Sonnets. For more information, you can visit his website, hoytrogers.com. Please take it away, Frank.
Hola. Hi. Hi. How's everybody? So happy to be here, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm so excited. I remember the first time that I published a poem in the magazine. I was so thrilled. So thank you very much. It's been like I think it was like 15 years ago. So it's been like 15 years of greatness. And thank you very much. I'm gonna read one poem that I wrote like 25 years ago, long ago, but I hope you like it. I'm gonna read it in Spanish. Autorretrato. Rodé al año y medio por las escaleras hasta el segundo piso. A los 6 casi me ahogo en una piscina. A los 7 me arrastró la corriente de un río. Me golpearon con un palo, con la culata de un fusil, con una tabla. Me propinaron un codazo en la cara y otro en el estómago. Rodillazos, machetazos, fuetazos. El perro del vecino me mordió un brazo. Me cortaron una oreja haciéndome el cerquillo, noqueado, abofeteado, calumniado, abuchado, psicoanalizado, perseguido por sargentos en motor, por 10 cobradores, por 6 mormones en bicicleta, por muchachas de Herrera y del 13. Me han atracado 30 veces en carros públicos, taxis, voladoras, a pie. Alguien me dio un aventón y me dijo, I am gay. Me robaron un televisor, un colchón, 6 pares de tenis, 4 carteras, un reloj, media biblioteca. Se llevaron mis manuscritos y cometieron plagio. Con lo que me han robado pudieran abrir una compraventa en Los Prados. Me fracturé el brazo derecho, el anular, la cadera, el fémur y perdí 4 dientes. El hermano Abelardo me dio un cocotazo que todavía me duele. En la fiesta de graduación me cayeron a trompadas y botellazos. Luego publiqué un libro de poesía y una vecina lo leyó y escéptica dijo que era capaz de escribir mejores poemas en media hora y lo hizo. Accidente con un burro en la carretera, intento de suicidio en cabarete, taquicardia, hepatitis, hígado jodido, satanizado en Europa del Este, pateado por mexicanos en Chicago, en Montecristi, una mesera me amenazó de muerte. Ahora mismo clava alfileres en un muñeco idéntico a mí. Los vecinos sueñan conmigo baleado. Los poetas con dedicarme elegías, otros con rociarme gasolina en la cabeza y arrojar un fósforo y ver mis rizos en llamas, otras con llevarme a la cama. Y hace semanas un policía me detiene y me pregunta si yo no era el poeta que había leído poesía aquella noche y le digo que sí. Y el policía dice que son buenos poemas y hace una reverencia o algo así. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hoyt Rogers, and I am very proud to be one of the translators of Fran Báez. Here is my translation of his poem, Self-Portrait. Self-Portrait. At 1.5, I rolled down the stairs to the second floor. At 6, I almost drowned in a pool. At 7, a current swept me down the river. They hit me with a stick, with a rifle butt, with a 2x4. They punched an elbow into my face, my stomach too. They kneed me, whipped me, slashed me with machetes. The neighbor's dog bit my arm. They cut my ear when they pierced it. I've been knocked cold, slapped, slandered, booed, stoned, chased by sergeants on motorbikes, by 2 bill collectors, by 3 Mormons on bikes, by girls from Herrera and El Trece. I've been mugged 30 times, in shared cabs, private taxis, on scooters, on foot. A guy gave me a ride and told me I'm gay. They've stolen my TV set, my mattress, 6 pairs of sneakers, 4 billfolds, a watch, half my books. They filched several manuscripts and committed plagiary. With what they've robbed from me, they could open a pawn shop in Los Prados. I've broken my right arm, my ring finger, my hip, my thigh bone, and lost 4 teeth. Father Abelardo gave me a bump on the noggin that still hurts. At my graduation bash, they lit into me with bottles. Then I published a book of poems and a neighbor read it. Skeptically, she told me she could write better poems in half an hour. And she did. An accident with a donkey on the highway, attempted suicide in Cabarete, tachycardia, hepatitis, fucked up liver, Satanized in Eastern Europe, kicked by Mexicans in Chicago. In Monte Cristi, a waitress threatened to kill me. Right now, she's sticking pins in a doll just like me. The neighbors dream of shooting me. The poets dream of writing me elegies. Other guys want to douse my head with gas, flip a match, and see my curls on fire. Girls want to jump in bed with me. A few weeks ago, a policeman stopped me and asked if I was the poet who'd read poetry that night. And I said yes. And the policeman said, "Those poems were good," and made a bow, sort of.
Go ahead. I go ahead and introduce our next readers, who will be reading a poem from Haiti. This is Jean d'Amérique and Nathan H. Dize. So, born in Haiti in 1994, Jean d'Amérique is a multi-awarded poet, playwright, rapper, and novelist. The author of several plays and collections of poetry, he has received the Prix de Poésie de la Vocation for No Way in the Skin Without This Bloody Embrace, and the Prix Montluc Résistance et Liberté for his first novel, A Sun to Be Sown. Nathan H. Dize is a translator of Haitian and Francophone Caribbean literature. His translations include the novels The Immortals and The Emperor by Mackenzie Orsel, I Am Alive by Kathleen Mars, Duels by Néhémie Pierre Dahomey, and Antoine of Gaumier by Yolanda Trouillot. He has translated poetry and short prose from French and Haitian Creole by Jean d'Amérique, James Noël, and Évelyne Trouillot. He is also a founding member of the Croisement Voix collective and the co-editor of the Global Black Writers in Translation series at Vanderbilt University Press. So please give them a warm welcome back.
Poème pou ti moun ki mal pou dormi. Dodo, ti pitit. Dodo, dodo, ti pitit. Dodo, pa bat kor. Si kè ou pa bat, se l'État prétel pou fè motel marché. Si ven nou couper, pa fè gros sang non. L'État c'est ingénieur, li besoin sang pour couler béton la mort. Dodo, dodo, ti pitit. Dodo, pa krasé kor, yo paye la police pour ça. Ou mettre dodo, pas fatigué ou. Demain, boulot ça pouvait en l'autre maquette. Si m'gen en bolette, m'a pas acheté en rêve pour. Dodo, ti pitit. Dodo, dodo, ti pitit. Dodo, les moments peuvent venir. La pote pays pour.
Poem for children with trouble sleeping. Sleep, little child, go to sleep. Don't budge. If your heart conks out, the state'll use it to keep its wheels turning. If your veins are slit, don't bleed out. The state's an engineer. It needs blood to pour the concrete of death. Sleep, little child, go to sleep. Don't beat yourself up. That's why the cops have jobs. Go on and sleep now. Don't worry. Bolos will open up another store. Tomorrow, if I win the lottery, I'll buy you a dream. Sleep, little child, go to sleep. Little child, go to sleep. When mama comes home, she'll bring you a real country.
And now to introduce our next writers, Yolanda Arroyo Pizarro and Lawrence Schimel. Yolanda Arroyo Pizarro is a Puerto Rican writer. She is the director of the Department of Afro-Puerto Rican Studies, a performative project of creative writing based at the Casa Museo Ashford in San Juan, Puerto Rico. She is also the founder and chair of Ancestral Black Women. Her books include the short story collection Las Negras, winner of the 2013 National Short Story Prize from the Pen Club of Puerto Rico, Caparazones, Lesbofilias, and Violeta. She has received the Institute of Puerto Rican Culture Prize in 2012 and 2015, and the National Award from the Institute of Puerto Rican Culture in 2008. Lawrence Schimel is a full-time author writing in both Spanish and English based in Madrid, Spain, who has published over 130 books in a wide range of genres. His picture books have won 2 Crystal Kite Awards from SCBWI, a White Raven from the International Youth Library in Munich, and have been chosen by IBI for Outstanding Books for Young People with Disabilities 3 times, among other honors. His writings have been translated into over 60 languages. In addition to his own writing, he is a prolific literary translator, primarily into English and into Spanish, who has published over 190 books. His translations into English have won a Batchelder Honor from the American Library Association and 3 Pen Translates Awards from English Pen. His most recent book is Hi Cuba, Haikus about Cuba in English and Spanish. Welcome.
Hello. Summer slid by in the village, hot and full of excitement. I discovered that one can see all kinds of commercial exchanges in the streets now that we don't have classes. In plain daylight, the cacos sell little bags full of white powder, little bags with crystalline rocks, little bags of green or brown herbs. The prostitutes adorned with necklaces and earrings show off their bodies shimmering with sweat. Lottery tickets are sold and chicks and hens scalp tickets, lilies and candles with the image of St. Lazarus. Even collecting debts can be arranged if the chances arises. For example, during one of my walks, I noticed the barber and Miguel's stepfather embroiled in an argument. They suddenly move in close to whisper things, and it seems like the first man tells the second that he can't pay him. He claims he has few clients and buries his hand in his pockets, only to turn them out to show they are empty. This incontestable gesture of not having even coins on him doesn't go down well with the captain, who chokes him and promises, "I will come by the barber shop then for the usual." Because it's so hot, the drug dealers open the fire hydrants, and all of the kids bathe in the middle of the street, squealing with delight. I like to jump into the stream of water and get all wet with Johanna, who I recognize right away, frolicking with the other kids from the building. But I can't. I'm on my way to perform an errand. Today, it's my turn to bring some goods to the vet, who talks with the mares. They were sent by my mother, who's got a reputation for getting her hands on strange or even illegal things. Inside the bag I'm carrying, there is a syringe full of horse tranquilizers. It was explained to me that such things are used in animals and in humans, although they say it can be fatal to people. That's why I should never try it on anyone. I wasn't to even open it without permission, no squirting it on my fingers to play with it, or even smelling it, nothing. If I did, Mama told me it would even get into my hair. The vet's name is Ulises, and according to what people say, he's not a doctor at all. He's just someone who got used to treating the pets of the neighborhood's horse rustles. From time to time, he has to operate on the animals or put them to sleep. Since he doesn't have a license or anything like that, he needs to buy contraband syringes like what my mama sells him. I give him the package, and in exchange, Ulises gives me an envelope of money, but not without first showing me how to start conversations with the mares. He explains to me that the stallions are nasty bastards, and that's why he doesn't even say a word to them. But the mares are docile and eager to please, he's quick to add. He says any old thing to them and they whining and show off their teeth. To me, it seems like the funniest thing ever. For some unknown reason, I decided to stick my hand into the envelope of money, pull out $2, and walk towards Elcano's father's barber shop. I see the sun is about to set, and it's possible the shop is closed. However, I think it's worth a shot. Maybe Elcano will take pity and will help me deal with my fisher problem. Normally, I wouldn't do it. But the sight of Johanna left me unsettled. When I reach the front door, I find it closed, but I hear sounds coming from inside. I think that Elcano might be in there, still sweeping up all the hair that's fallen to the floor, since that's the daily chore his father always demands of him. I know, because Elcano spends hours on end complaining about having to clean the floor and leave it free for all the hair, braid, straight, curly, or dyed, of all the people who passes through there. I go around to the back and decided to try the rear door. As I open it, a large, rough man wearing a sailor hat comes out. It's Miguelito's stepfather, the captain of the Cataño ferry. He almost bumps into me because he's a bit drunk. He tries to stare at me, but he isn't steady. Before pushing me aside to continue on his way, he whispers, "Mujerota." I can't say anything back to him, though his comment makes me furious. It all happened too quickly. Inside, still not finished sweeping the floors clean of hair, I find Elcano, who is a bundle of nerves. He pulls up his pants and dries the tears on his cheeks. "Don't you dare say anything to anyone," he threatens me. My heart is still beating fast when, spellbound, I see behind the thin strip of fabric of his tank top the bruises that are starting to form on his shoulders. En español. El verano se escurre caluroso y entretenido en los caseríos. Descubro que se ven todo tipo de intercambios comerciales en las calles ahora que no tenemos clase. A plena luz del día, los cacos venden bolsitas con polvo blanco, bolsitas con rocas cristalinas, bolsitas con hierba verde o marrón. Las putas exhiben sus cuerpos aceitados por el sudor y decorados con collares y aretes. Hay venta de billetes de lotería, venta de pollitos y gallinas, venta de bolita clandestina, de azucenas y velones con la imagen de San Lázaro, hasta gestiones de cobro de dinero si se da la oportunidad. Por ejemplo, en una de mis caminatas noto que el barbero y el padrastro de Miguel hablan agitados. Luego se acercan para murmurar cosas y parecería que el primero le dice al segundo que no puede pagarle. Alega que hay pocos clientes y se mete las manos a los bolsillos solo para extraerlas y mostrar la tela blanca de los mismos. Aquel indiscutible gesto de que no tiene ni siquiera monedas con él no es bien recibido por el lanchero que lo empuja y promete: "Voy a pasar por la barbería entonces, a lo de siempre". Como hace demasiado calor, los narcotraficantes del punto abren los hidrantes de incendio y todos los mocosos nos bañamos en plena calle mientras echamos carcajadas. Yo quisiera meterme en el chorro de agua y mojarme con Johanna, que retosa con los otros niños del edificio y a quien reconozco de inmediato, pero no puedo. Estoy camino a realizar un recado. Hoy me toca llevar el mandado al veterinario que habla con las yeguas. Se lo envía a mi madre, que tiene fama de conseguir cosas extrañas o hasta ilegales. Dentro de la bolsa que cargo hay una jeringa repleta de anestesia de caballo. Me han explicado que se utiliza en animales y en humanos, aunque dicen que el uso en personas puede ser fatal. Por eso no debo nunca probarla en nadie, ni abrirla sin autorización, ni echármela en los dedos para jugar, ni olerla ni nada. Mamá me ha dicho que me dará hasta dentro del pelo si lo hago. El veterinario se llama Ulises y según cuentan, no es para nada médico. Es un tipo que se ha acostumbrado a tratar las mascotas de los cuatreros del residencial. De vez en cuando tiene que operar a los animales o ponerlos a dormir. Como no posee licencia ni nada que se le parezca, contrabandea las jeringuillas que le vende mi mamá. Yo le entrego el paquete y Ulises a cambio me entrega un sobre con dinero. No sin antes mostrarme cómo inicia conversaciones con las yeguas. Me explica que los machos son unos cabrones antipáticos y que por eso a ellos ni les dirige la palabra. Pero aclara que las hembras son dóciles y complacientes. Él les dice cualquier cosa y ellas relinchan y enseñan las encías. A mí me parece un acto de lo más cómico. Por algún extraño instinto decido meter la mano en el sobre con dinero y sacar $2 y caminar hasta la barbería del Cano. Noto que el sol está a punto de ocultarse y es posible que el comercio se encuentre cerrado. Sin embargo, quiero intentarlo. A lo mejor el Cano se apiada y me ayuda a disimular mi problema facial. En circunstancias normales no lo haría, pero haber visto a Johanna me inquieta. Al llegar a la puerta de enfrente la encuentro cerrada, pero escucho ruidos que vienen de adentro. Pienso que el Cano puede estar aún allí, barriendo los pelos tirados en el suelo, ya que esa es la tarea diaria que siempre le exige su papá. Lo sé porque el Cano se pasa quejándose horas enteras de que tiene que asear el piso y dejarlo limpio de los cabellos canosos, lacios, encaracolados, teñidos, de todos los fulanos que pasan por el lugar. Doy la vuelta al negocio y decido abrir la puerta trasera. Al hacerlo, por ella sale un hombre grande y tosco que lleva puesto un sombrero de marinero. Es el padrastro de Miguelito, el capitán de las lanchas de Cataño. Casi choca conmigo porque va algo ebrio. Intenta mirarme detenidamente, pero se tambalea. Antes de empujarme para continuar su camino, susurra: mujerota. Nada le puedo contestar, a pesar de que me ha enfurecido muchísimo, muchísimo su comentario. Todo ha pasado demasiado a prisa. Adentro, sin haber terminado de barrer los pelos del piso, encuentro a un Cano hecho un manojo de nervios. Se acomoda los pantalones y se seca las lágrimas de las mejillas. No te atrevas a decirle a nadie, me amenaza. Todavía me late el corazón, acelerado, cuando identifico embelesada, a través de los manguillos de su camisa, los moretones que empiezan a formarse en sus hombros.
Yolanda, thank you so much, and for reading it in both languages. We really appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Lawrence Schimel. I'm sorry that because of time zones, I'm not able to join you in person for the Words Without Borders campus launch for the Caribbean Writers Special. I'm going to read my translation into English of section 4 from Yolanda Arroyo Pizarro's short story Bruises. Summer slid by in the village, hot and full of excitement. I discovered that one can see all kinds of commercial exchanges in the streets now that we don't have classes. In plain daylight, the cacos sell little bags full of white powder, little bags with crystalline rocks, little bags of green or brown herbs. The prostitutes, adorned with necklaces and earrings, show off their bodies, shimmering with sweat. Lottery tickets are sold, and chicks and hens, scalp tickets, lilies and candles with the images of St. Lazarus. Even collecting debts can be arranged if the chance arises. For example, during one of the walks, I noticed the barber and Miguel's stepfather embroiled in an argument. They suddenly move in close to whisper things, and it seems like the first man tells the second that he can't pay him. He claims he has few clients and buries his hands in his pockets, only to turn them out to show they're empty. This incontestable gesture of not having even coins on him doesn't go well with the captain, who shoves him and promises, "I'll come by the barber shop then," for the usual. Because it's so hot, the drug dealers open the fire hydrants and all of the kids bathe in the middle of the street, squealing with delight. I'd like to jump into that stream of water and get all wet with Johanna, who I recognize right away frolicking with the other kids from the building, but I can't. I'm on my way to perform an errand. Today, it's my turn to bring some of the goods to the vet, who talks with the mares. They were sent by my mother, who got a reputation for getting her hands on strange or even illegal things. Inside the bag I'm carrying, there's a syringe full of horse tranquilizers. It was explained to me that such things are used in animals and in humans, although they say it can be fatal to people. That's why I should never try it on anyone. I wasn't to even open it without permission, no squirting it on my fingers to play with it, or even smelling it, nothing. If I did, Mama told me, it would even get into my hair. The vet's name is Ulysses, and according to what people say, he's not a doctor at all. He's just someone who got used to treating the pets of the neighborhood's horse rustlers. From time to time, he has to operate on the animals or put them to sleep. Since he doesn't have a license or anything like that, he needs to buy contraband syringes like what my mama sells him. I give him the package, and in exchange, Ulysses gives me an envelope of money, but not without first showing me how to start conversations with the mares. He explains to me that the stallions are nasty bastards, and that's why he doesn't even say a word to them. But the mares are docile and eager to please, he's quick to add. He says any old thing to them, and they whinny and show off their teeth. To me, it seems like the funniest thing ever. For some unknown reason, I decide to stick my hand into the envelope of money, pull out $2, and walk toward Elcano's father's barbershop. I see the sun is about to set, and it's possible the shop is closed. However, I think it's worth a shot. Maybe Elcano will take pity and will help me deal with my facial problem. Normally I wouldn't do it, but the sight of Johanna left me unsettled. When I reach the front door, I find it closed, but I hear sounds coming from inside. I think that Elcano might be in there, still sweeping up all the hair that's fallen to the floor, since that's the daily chore his father always demands of him. I know because Elcano spends hours on end complaining about having to clean the floor and leave it free of all the hair, gray, straight, curly, or dyed, of all the people who pass through there. I go around to the back and decide to try the rear door. As I open it, a large, rough man wearing a sailor hat comes out. It's Miguelito's stepfather, the captain of the Catania ferry. He almost bumps into me because he's a bit drunk. He tries to stare at me, but he's unsteady. Before pushing me aside to continue on his way, he whispers, "Mujerota." I can't say anything back to him, though this comment made me furious. It's all happened too quickly. Inside, still not finished sweeping the floors clean of hair, I find Akano, who is a bundle of nerves. He pulls up his pants and dries the tears on his cheeks. "Don't you dare say anything to anyone," he threatens me. My heart is still beating fast when, spellbound, I see behind the thin strip of fabric of his tank top the bruises that are starting to form on his shoulders. Thank you.
So our next readers are going to be Anabel Enríquez Piñeiro and Hilary Gulley. Anabel Enríquez Piñeiro is an award-winning Cuban fantasy writer and essayist. She is the author of the story collection Nothing to Declare, and her writing has appeared in numerous anthologies, including Secrets of the Future, Chronicles of Tomorrow, 50 Years of Science Fiction in Cuba, Time Zero, The Apex Book of World Science Fiction 2, Progression Therapy and Other Stories, and Dreaming in Vrindavan and Other Stories by Women. Her stories, articles, and essays appear on several international websites, and in e-zines and print publications from Spain, Argentina, Israel, the United States, Puerto Rico, and Cuba. She is a founding member of the Espiral Fantasy Writing Workshop and is active as a promoter and organizer of fantasy events and festivals. Hilary Gulley is a writer and translator from Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. In 2012, she was awarded a Penheim Translation Fund grant for her work on Marcelo Cohen's The End of the Same. In 2013, she was awarded an NEA fellowship to attend the Vermont Studio Center, where she was a returning resident in 2015. Her work includes a translated anthology of contemporary Cuban short stories entitled Cuba in Splinters, 11 Stories from the New Cuba. Her forthcoming works include Kazbek by Ecuadorian writer Leonardo Valencia. And in addition to her full-time translation work, Hillary teaches composition, narrative, and poetry at CUNY Queens College. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm deeply honored to be part of this collection and to share my work with you. I hope the short fragment of the story I will read give you a glimpse into the words I love to create. Nada que declarar. Aleides das Neves Ferreira. Padre entregó toda una vida de ahorros a cambio de este hueco en la cámara de reciclaje de desechos. Cierto que es mínimo el espacio. Anela, Soles y yo sentimos calambre en los brazos, tensión en el cuello y la respiración caliente de unos sobre los otros. Pero, ¿qué más pedirle al viejo? En las palmas enguantadas del capataz del espacio puerto, sus manos depositaron, temblando, los 2 megacréditos. Temblaba porque temía que se frustrara el viaje por algún imprevisto y perdiéramos toda posibilidad de un segundo intento. Temblaba por la emoción de cumplir su sueño de vernos partir de aquel infierno y retornar al origen. Temblaba porque la fiebre de las canteras consumían sus nervios periféricos. No pudo siquiera despedirnos. El día antes de la partida del transbordador, fue llevado junto a su cuadrilla hacia las minas recién abiertas, unos 10 kilómetros al norte de la granja, donde los sismos habían reventado nuevas vetas de estaño. Por suerte, ya ninguno de nosotros volverá a lamerlas. No tendremos que temer a las erupciones que chamuscan la piel, ni a las fumarolas de azufre que queman los ojos y pudren los pulmones en las granjas mineras de Io. Io queda debajo, detrás, como una esfera que encarcela 1000 hambrientos dragones en perenne batalla. Este carguero nos aleja para siempre de sus fauces y del beso de buenas noches que nunca nos ha dejado de dar padre. Vamos en el carguero rumbo a la tierra, a comprobar que no es tan solo el mito del que hemos oído hablar desde que abrimos los ojos al cielo escarlata de Io. Como descendientes de colonos convertidos en esclavos, de esclavos convertidos en autómatas, menos costosos y más desprotegidos que los cyborgs, no tenemos otro modo de salir de la pesadilla ardiente, sino es en los resquicios de los cargueros que transportan minerales y materias primas desde las colonias exteriores hasta la tierra. La tierra, nostalgia delirante del bisabuelo, la que abandonó por una quimera de prosperidad. A nosotros solo nos dejó por herencia la continua lucha por sobrevivir en un mundo que se deshace constantemente bajo los pies, y la misma nostalgia. Anela dibuja una y otra vez una ciudad de torres blancas con banderolas sobre un lago de agua verde y llena el cielo con aves como estrellas de nieve. Dice que así le contaba el bisabuelo al abuelo y este a padre y padre a ella, y así es el lugar donde vivían nuestros antepasados y al que los 3 añoramos volver. Anela duerme ahora recostada en mi hombro y algunas veces habla dormida, repitiendo la palabra que tanto le fascina, aun cuando duerme. Nieve. La nieve de la tierra, que es blanca como los dientes del capataz de la cuadrilla y fría como cristal de metano. Solo me distrae con la insistencia de que Anela está muy caliente, más caliente que lava, y que tal vez no habla en sueños, sino que delira. Es hambre, le respondo. Nuestras reservas de alimentos están justas para una comida diaria. A mí también me percuten las tripas. Trato de distraerlos hablándoles de esa cosa que padre escuchó de su abuelo, que parece nieve y que se come. Creo que lo llaman helados. Le compraremos uno a Anela con nuestro primer salario. En el anillo de producción que circunda la tierra hay gente llegada de todas las colonias, incluso de Io. Seguro que nos tenderán una mano, tal como nos prometió padre. Pero Sol les parece aburrirse y empieza con la letanía de que siente mareos, con vómitos a punta de labios. Después de todo, es solo un niño. 2 años menos cuentan. Me pide que salgamos a un lugar más ventilado. Cree que si encontramos otros peces pegas, nos ayudarán si tienen con alguna medicina. Yo les recuerdo que lo más probable es que nos quiten lo que llevamos y nos maten, por el simple temor a compartir el riesgo de ser descubiertos. Pero Sol les canta y mis sienes están a punto de reventar. Salimos de la cámara de reciclaje y tomamos con cuidado el estricto itinerario que nos indicó el capataz antes de colarnos en la nave. Tememos que el carguero esté infectado de cibers vigilando los corredores y que nos detecten para los del puesto de mando. Allí los navegantes, limpios, bien alimentados, disfrutan la experiencia de ver acercarse despacio la tierra. Algún día yo seré el comandante de un carguero, mejor, de un crucero civil, y seré siempre el primero en verla, arropada con su traje de espuma azul y blanca como si fuera la novia de los cielos. Pero ahora somos polizones y ningún pez pega viaja en primera clase. El carguero lleva hierro, estaño y azufre para las obras del anillo. Como carga programada, entrará sin problemas ni chequeos en aduana. Nada que declarar. Nosotros con la carga. Así a los contenedores autónomos. Espero que nuestras viejas máscaras resistan el paso desde la esclusa hasta los almacenes. Unos 40 metros de vacío.
Hi. So I'll start with an excerpt from the same story, Nothing to Declare. I just wanted to actually give a shout out to Esther Allen. She put together with me the issue of Words Without Borders that this appeared in back in 2016, I think. So it was called On Cuban Time, and it was so fun to put together. And I was really excited when this story was selected because it was definitely a standout from that collection. Okay. Father traded his life savings for this hole in the waste recycling compartment. Of course, there's not much space. Anella, Solness, and I are getting cramped arms and stiff necks. We're steeping in each other's hot breath. But we couldn't have asked for more from our old man. Trembling, he placed the 2 mega credits in the spaceport attendant's gloved hands. He trembled because he feared our trip would be thwarted and we'd have no chance at a second escape. He trembled because his dream of sending us away from that hellhole and back to the origin was finally coming true. He trembled because his mining fever was consuming his peripheral nerves. He couldn't even say goodbye to us. The day before the freighter left, they shipped him off with his team to the new mine some 7 miles north of the old mining homestead, where earthquakes had ripped open fresh veins of tin. Fortunately, no one will ever make us lick them again. We no longer have to fear the eruptions on Io's mining farms that scorched our skin, or the plumes of sulfur that burned our eyes and soured our lungs. Now Io is below us, behind us, like the spherical prison of 1,000 famished dragons locked in a never-ending battle. This freighter is wrenching us from its jaws forever, and away from Father's never-failing goodnight kisses. We're bound for Earth to see for ourselves that it's not just some fairy tale we've heard since our eyes opened to Io's red sky. As descendants of settlers turned slaves, of slaves turned automats, cheaper and more vulnerable than the cyborgs, we have no way out of this flaming nightmare other than in the waste compartments of freighters that transport minerals and prime materials from the outer colonies to Earth. Earth, the object of our great-grandfather's delirious nostalgia after he abandoned it for his pipe dream of prosperity. His sole legacy to us was the constant struggle to survive in a world forever collapsing beneath our feet. And the same nostalgia. Over and over, Anela draws a city with white towers and streaming flags set on a green lake. She fills the sky with birds as if they were snowflakes. She says that's how our great-grandfather described it to grandfather, and how grandfather described it to father, and how father described it to her. It's just like where our ancestors lived, the place we've been longing for. Anela is sleeping now, nestled against my shoulder, and from time to time she murmurs, repeating the word she can't forget, even in her dreams. Snow. The snow on Earth, white like the commander's teeth, cold like methane crystals. Now Solness is telling me that Anela is very hot, hotter than lava, and that instead of talking in her sleep, she might be delirious. She's hungry, I say. We have just enough food for 1 ration a day. My belly is rumbling too. I try to distract Solness and Anela by talking about that thing Father heard about from his grandfather, a kind of snow that you eat. I think it's called ice cream. We'll buy some for Anela with our first paychecks, I say. The production ring encircling Earth has people from every colony, including Io. I know someone will help us out, just like Father promised. But Solness seems restless and starts to complain that he feels sick, like he's about to throw up. He's only a child, after all. The 2 years between us make a big difference. He asks if we can find a place with more air. He thinks that if we can find other slick fish, they might be able to give us some medicine. I say it's more likely that they'll rob us blind and kill us, simply out of fear of being discovered.
Thank you both so much. It's such a powerful story. It was written a while back, but it still feels very timely. So thank you all. And I want to just give another huge thank you to all of the readers, authors, poets, translators who read tonight. I want to just plug very quickly the poem Creole Soldier by Emiliana Bernard Stevenson, who wasn't able to join us, but Eleanor is going to put the link to her poem in the chat. I'll just say briefly about Emiliana, that because she has an impressive resume, that she is a writer, educator, feminist, and the Colombian ambassador to Jamaica. And she is born in the San Andres and Providencia Islands and is part of the Rizal community. And she holds a master's degree in Caribbean studies and has worked as a TV journalist, editor, and columnist. In 2019, she was named Afro-Colombian Journalist of the Year by El Espectador and the Fundación Color Colombia for her work at the regional news network Teleislas. And in the same year, she received the President's Award from the Caribbean Broadcasting Union. Bernard Stevenson writes in her mother tongue, the English-based San Andres y Providencia Creole, which she works to promote and preserve. So I highly recommend you take a look at the poem. As Emiliana noted, it's an English-based Creole, and we have a recording of her reading the poem on the site. So as you listen to her read, you might notice some similarities between the original text and the English translation. That's really cool to see. So I am going to just move us quickly to a Q&A. You've all been with us, and I want to be mindful of time, but I do want to just take the opportunity to ask a few audience questions because we have everyone here tonight. I received one question over DM, and I'll just read it here. I would love to hear the readers talk about how the process of translation for the page is influenced or enriched by the opportunity to read aloud, and knowing the audience will encounter the sound of the text both ways, even if they only understand it primarily in one language. Or put another way, what is the emotional experience for writers and translators of hearing the work twice for the same audience like this? Does anyone want to give it an answer?
Yeah, I can do. I can. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's really interesting, but I think it's a better and an amazing experience when you had that same experience with a different language. For example, Arab or Chinese, Mandarin. It's like because it's completely different, and it's like entering into a new world. And you feel like because in English, it's so close, so you can kind of tell, or French or Italian. I mean, compared to Spanish. But when you have it translated into Russian or I don't know, a completely different language is like it's really amazing, and it's really like and you feel like, wow, this is working. I mean, it feels like this is different, and at the same time, if you are like creating emotion with a different kind of reader, it's like you feel like, this is worth it, because when you reach that point, it's like, I mean, I'm telling something that's beyond the language, beyond the limit of language, the border of the language. You're going beyond that, and I love that. I think that's so great. Robert Frost used to say that the poetry is the thing that you lose when you translate, but I'm not sure about that. I think what you gain is poetry.
Could I add something to that? Yeah, I think when we shared the poem on Words Without Borders, the translation of Poem for Children with Trouble Sleeping, there was a chance to do a workshop with educators. I forget where exactly those educators were, but the response from one of the educators was to translate it into Hindi and then to read it back. And so as you heard Jean read with a specific kind of rhythm, myself read with another kind of rhythm, and then to hear this Hindi version almost sung back. It was just a really beautiful way of sort of seeing how a poem and the idea of a lullaby can travel and take on different shapes.
If anyone else wants to jump in, feel free, or else I have a follow-up question, which is I know that, you know, it's amazing to hear these poems get translated and to hear them travel. And I also know that a few of you are musicians and are thinking a lot about how poetry is translated from, you know, from the page to the stage or from the page to you know, a Spotify track. I wonder if any of the musicians want to jump in and say a little bit about how music inspires their work or vice versa.
Yeah, for me, I discovered poetry through music, through rap music. So I used to use this kind of way to work because I think that every word is music if we pay attention. So when I'm writing, I'm just taking care of this thing, and especially this poem. It's from like a kind of berceuse, like a song that we sing for children and that my parents used to sing for me when I was younger. And as I lived in Port-au-Prince, and we start having like in the last years another kind of sound, which is with guns. So I turned this poem into like a way to denounce the violence in the country, in the city. But it's always about a kind of music too. I mean, it's music of the life. It's music of every day we're living in this country, in this world. So even it's for like writing on a paper or trying to put it on stage or in a track, it's the same process for me. It's paying attention to the music of the life and also my way to breathe, and also to it's a way to be alive. I mean, by my voice. So I like to going on stage and or even with the screen behind the screen to scream my poems so that I can give you this kind of music in the veins. Yeah, so
Something similar happens to me, but not in with music. I notice this like shift that's been happening in my literature. For example, not after, but during I'm writing a short story, I have to stop, and let's say I am writing and I am in page 2 or 3. I stop, and then whatever I am writing, I decode in a poem version.
Oh.
And I was thinking the other day, is this happening to everyone? Is this something that is happening to me after a certain age? I don't know why. And the other thing that happens to me is that sometimes if I finish the second or third page in Spanish, I switch and write the same page in English too. So it's like a phenomenon. uh, and also it signifies to me, it means for me more respect for translators. Because at some point I'm thinking, do they have all these languages and different coding? It's like a switch code, right? I don't know. Maybe because our territory, Puerto Rico, is occupied, and we have both languages, and not only the political theme, but we have a lot of people that we love, that we talk to each other in Spanish and English every day.
Mm.
And also, in my case, since I am a narrator and also a poet, maybe those two things, the poetry and the short story, happens at the same time. It's like a collision of two different universes. And sometimes I take like with a lot of gratitude, but sometimes I think, am I going crazy? At least for now, it's a nice thing. The art, it's something that I can assure hearing everyone here this night that we have a lot of esteem, a lot of love for what the art that we are doing. And I don't know, maybe this is another part of this process.
Yeah, I have a music background. I love that like idea of the collation between two worlds. I did jazz for a long time, and then I switched a bit to like lyric singing and opera. And I would say that literally everything that I carry it all into the translation world. I always think of translation as inhabiting words in the same way that you would inhabit a song as a musician. And so just like there can be various, infinite versions of any one song, there can be infinite versions, infinite translations of any one text. And it can mean different things to you at different times in your life and at different moments. And sometimes one version means something to you one time, and then another version means something to you another time. And I think we all tend to find what we need when we need it, when we're looking for it. So yeah, I think that's just, I used to translate off of a music stand, actually. I used to have a music stand next to my computer and translate. And the first book-length translation I did was Marcelo Cohen's The End of the Same. And Marcelo was a huge jazz fanatic. And I remember sending my manuscript off to him, really nervous because I had never gotten serious feedback on anything at that point. And he didn't know that I was a jazz fanatic. And he wrote back to me, and his first feedback was, he was very enthusiastic, and he was just like, "Your prose sounds like jazz." And I couldn't believe it, because I was just like, that's what I was going for. This is the best compliment ever. But it is that kind of, the carryover, the rhythmic carryover and tonal carryover that, anyway.
That's beautiful. Unless anyone wants to jump in really quick, anyone have anything? I think that's a beautiful way to close this up. I think just what I'm taking away from this, and I hope that if we have students or educators watching, is that there is so much inspiration to be drawn from so many different artistic places, and they can be, kind of pulled together and combined, and that translation and writing is a really beautiful kind of amalgamation of all of these different art forms. So I'll just say a quick thank you and good night to everyone. Just finding my script. Here we go. Yeah, thank you so much to everyone, to all of our readers, and to all of you for joining us and for bearing with us. A final reminder that you can visit our website, www-campus.org, for all of our latest blog posts, lesson plans, and more. And to stay abreast of all things WWB, you can sign up for our newsletters via the link in the chat. We'll send you all an email in the coming days with a link to rewatch an edited version of this event. So thank you all again so much. We're so grateful to have you all with us and very happy to give our new unit a happy launch into the world. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Oh, did Frank have something?
No, no, it's okay. I mean, I was gonna say that that's so Caribbean, you know, when you miss everything. You miss it's like the food. We are missing everything. Music, theater, literature. That's Caribbean. We are like that. So that's not weird for us. It's like that happening all the time. We are missing everything.
Thank you so much, Frank. Yeah, couldn't have said it better. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks.